Good evening, I'm Jon Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily. Yesterday, the Gazeta Polska Weekly Gala took place at the National Philharmonic in Warsaw. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki was selected as Man of the Year 2018 by Gazeta Polska Weekly, while Professor Krzysztof Szwargrzyk was given the highest recognition by Gazeta Polska clubs from all over the globe for his work on finding and identifying the remains of freedom fighters murdered by the communist regime.
I invite on the stage our special guest, Chairman Kaczyński.
You are on the front line of this difficult patriotic political battle, which seemed hopeless for years, but yet it brought results. Today we need to start the fight for our next victory in the coming elections, in which the fate of Poland will be settled.
We want to express our gratitude for what he has done for many years to preserve the memory of Polish patriotic heroes viciously murdered by the communist Stalin's regime.
I deeply believe that in that process of bringing back the memory of Polish heroes that the communists tried to erase from our history, we will be able to fulfill our Polish obligation and find the last remains of anti-communist forgotten soldiers murdered by Germans, communists, Ukrainians and Soviets. So help us God.
Professor Richard philosopher and European MP from the Law and Justice Party, and film director Patryk Wega were given Nowe Państwo magazine's Gregory the Great Awards.
What is happening in the world now is down to you, largely down to you and your friends. Presently, Poland is one of the few countries in the world which has managed to preserve full freedom.
Od sukcesu tego, co dzieje się w Polsce, brali udział w tym wielkim zbiorowym wysiłku.
We have here in the audience people who fought the biggest battles with corruption in Poland. If not for you, if not for the fight against the VAT mafia and other corruption scandals, our country would not have money for new programs, to lower taxes, to stimulate the economy. We wanted to recognize that. The Prime Minister is the leader of that team.
Premier Mateusz Morawiecki.
Jak tutaj mnie Tomek wiódł, to...
When Tomasz led me here, I asked what music would be used. He said it will be Rocky Balboa, and sure enough it was. I am going to use that. Rocky also, like we do, tried to fight with the best, to win. He tried to fight in higher weight categories. Do we want that? Of course. We do not want to stay in a corner. We do not want to have a minimal amount of programs. We do not want to be a punching bag. We want to fight. We want to fight for a better, happier Poland.
Oczywiście.
The leader of the Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczyński, introduced an extension to the 500-plus programme and the 13 retirement paycheck, and has put the opposition on the defensive. Opposition politicians claim that Kaczyński's new promises are a risk to the state budget. The government says that there will be enough money available and will present their financial plan on March the 5th.
These are not just promises, this is huge support for the society. An introduction of the 500-plus program for the first child, no more income tax return for employees up to the age of 26, the so-called 13 retirement paycheck, the return of reduced bus connections, and reduction of labour costs. These are the 5 campaign promises of Kaczyński's Law and Justice Party.
Już 5 marca przedstawimy mapę drogową.
On March 5th, we will introduce the roadmap of the Law and Justice Party's plan. It will concern the exact deadlines of the projects, when exactly they will be on the list of legislative works, and when exactly we will be discussing it in the Council of Ministers. Opposition politicians see Kaczyński's 5 promises as cheap populism.
There will be higher salaries for teachers, there are huge lines from medical specialists, there is a problem with indebted hospitals. There is still some for all of it to be solved.
The implementation of the promises announced by Jarosław Kaczyński is supposed to cost the state budget around 40 billion zlotys.
I understand that this amount concerning new campaign propositions is making an impression. They have been preparing for a couple of months, the costs were counted up and the means were protected.
As the leader of the Law and Justice Party announced, an additional benefit for pensioners for the amount of 1,100 zlotys will be paid on May 1st. The 500-plus program for the first child will take effect from July 1st this year. The other promises will be implemented by September 21st. More campaign promises of the ruling party will be introduced in June and July.
We will get further this way, the way we started to go 3 years ago. We showed that we can and will do more.
Myśmy już pokazali, że umiemy.
The British electorate, which had voted for Great Britain to leave the European Union, has received two severe blows to their hopes of Brexit taking place on March the 29th. The leaders of both major political parties seem intent on subverting the will of the British public. On Sunday, the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn, reversed his earlier pledge by stating that his party will, in fact, support a second referendum if the government doesn't accept the Labour Party's soft Brexit proposal. Furthermore, Theresa May has promised MPs vote on a no-deal Brexit or a delay to Brexit if the Houses of Commons once again rejects her EU withdrawal agreement.
Today's announcement by Prime Minister May is seen by some as an attempt to break the deadlock concerning the Brexit negotiations.
I can say, first of all, that Prime Minister May and I discussed yesterday a lot of issues, including the legal and procedural context of a potential extension. For me, it's absolutely clear that if there is no majority in the House of Commons to approve a deal, we will face an alternative, a chaotic Brexit or extension. The less time there is until the 29th of March, the greater is the likelihood of an extension. And this is an objective fact, not our intention, not our plan, but an objective fact.
It seems the plan of extending negotiations with the EU is increasingly looking like the most likely outcome.
So today I want to reassure the House by making three further commitments. First, we will hold a second meaningful vote by Tuesday the 12th of March at the latest. Second, if the government has not won a meaningful vote by Tuesday the 12th of March, then it will, in addition to its obligations to table a neutral amendable motion under Section 13 of the EU Withdrawal Act, table a motion to be voted on by Wednesday the 13th of March at the latest, asking this House if it supports leaving the EU without a withdrawal agreement and a framework for a future relationship on the 29th of March. So the United Kingdom will only leave without a deal on the 29th of March if there is explicit consent in the House for that outcome.
Representatives of the Labour Party argue that Prime Minister May's handling of Brexit has been disastrous.
I've lost count of the number of times the Prime Minister has come to this House to explain a further delay. They say, Mr. Speaker, history repeats itself, first time as tragedy, second time as farce. By the umpteenth time, it can only be described as grotesquely reckless.
Currently, all options are being kept open. After the vote in Parliament on March 12th, it should become easier to forecast the path the UK will ultimately take.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm Jon Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather. That's followed by the business. Then it's the culture, history and the travel.
Good evening, I'm Paulina Adlerstein and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tonight the temperatures will be from -2 degrees in the area of Warsaw and up to 3 degrees in Zielona Góra, 2 degrees in Poznań, and very nice and dry throughout the whole night. Now let's see what will happen tomorrow. So tomorrow the highest temperature will be 13 degrees Celsius in the area of Zielona Góra and Wrocław. 12 degrees will be seen in Poznań, 11 degrees in Szczecin and Bydgoszcz, sun all over the country, and the coolest region will be around Lubin with 6 degrees. Some snow will appear there as well, also in the east around Białystok, and showers are expected around Rzeszów with 7 degrees Celsius. This is all. Thank you and see you soon.
Watching Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Dr. Grzegorz Brona of Polish Space Agency. Sir, welcome to our show.
Good evening.
And next few weeks are exciting for Polish space researchers because we can expect that some interesting events will happen in space.
Yes, actually we call it Poland succeeding in space. What I mean that we are calling that Poland succeeding in space is that at 19th of November there will be a launch of 3 objects that were partially at least created in Poland. They will be launched on a rocket from the Vandenberg base. It's located in California. The rocket that will be responsible for the launch is Falcon 9, created by Elon Musk. And these 3 objects are 2 satellites and 1 system, one part of a satellite. One of the satellites was created by Polish students. The students that are now learning at the Warsaw University of Technology, Politechnika Warszawska. They created a nanosatellite. It's a small satellite of 2 kilograms that will be testing technology of the orbitation. So what I mean by the orbitation is the friction between the satellite and the atmosphere, the upper part of the atmosphere. And the satellite, the students will learn how to deorbit an old satellite from the Earth orbit, low Earth orbit. Then the second object is a bigger one. It has a mass of 80 kilograms. It was created by Polish and Finnish entrepreneurships.
Both company, one company is in Warsaw, Poland.
Yeah, exactly.
Another in Helsinki.
Yeah, actually, it's located close to Helsinki in Espoo. But this also company was created by Polish students that were learning or teaching then at the University of Espoo. So they created a company, they designed a satellite, and then this satellite was built in Poland, was manufactured in Poland.
Can we say something about this satellite? What is special in it?
This satellite is a so-called radar satellite. It sends a radar signal towards Earth. Then the radar signal is reflected from Earth and coming back to the satellite. So the satellite is creating images of Earth in the radar spectrum, not in the visible spectrum, but in the radar spectrum. So it can make pictures, does not matter of the weather, right? So the radar signal can go through the clouds or fog and check what is under the clouds, let's say. Actually, this company is now planning to build a mega constellation or a constellation of 19 of such satellites. Most of them, I hope, will be created here in Poland, manufactured at least in Poland. So these are 2 satellites. And there's also another satellite created by European Space Agency. It is called ECO. It's an educational satellite, and a part of the satellite, a component that is responsible for the telecommunication, was created in Wrocław, at the Wrocław Polytechnic. So we see that there's a clear specialization also in Poland now emerging in the area of the telecommunication systems in space.
Year 2018 is the 6th year of Poland in European Space Agency, and 100th anniversary of regaining independence after the Great War. So these events are very much connected and very much interesting to our viewers.
Yes, actually, these events are showing that, well, actually, we started our race towards stars just 6 years ago, right, when we joined European Space Agency. Before that, there was, of course, a Space Research Center located in Warsaw, and they were doing some science. But after 2012, when we joined the European Space Agency, there were many companies created, private companies created, that are trying to catch up with the space race, international space race. So after these 6 years, we are able to produce and to design small satellites at least. We are able to produce and deliver subsystems or systems to the international projects like this ECO project. So we see that our specialists, our students, our entrepreneurs are really moving very fast.
Sir, thank you very much. Grzegorz Brona, the CEO of Polish Press Agency, was our guest tonight. Exciting events, exciting things. We will watch it very closely. And that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
Good evening, I'm Paulina Adlerstein and welcome again to Poland Daily Weather. Tomorrow 13 degrees will be the maximum in the area of Wrocław, also in the west around Zielona Góra, also 12 degrees in Poznań, 11 in Bydgoszcz, as well as in Szczecin, 9 degrees in Warsaw, as well as in Łódź and Katowice, and the coolest will be the area of Lublin with 6 degrees, also Białystok, and in both of those areas there will be some snow tomorrow and showers are expected in the area of Rzeszów. And tomorrow in Europe, the situation will be even nicer. 20 degrees will be seen in Vienna, also 20 degrees in Madrid, Spain, and up to 20 in Rome, Italy, 17 in Lisbon, 17 also in London, as well as in Paris, 13 degrees in Dublin, and the coolest will be 4 degrees around Helsinki in Finland. This is all for tonight. Thank you and see you soon.
On today's episode of Poland Daily Culture, we are going to give you an insight into a foreign perspective living in Poland. We will be exploring their experiences and how they have absorbed certain aspects of the culture.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. Here today we're at Dom Polska, Belwederska in Warsaw. And in today's episode I'm joined by Alejandra. Alejandra, welcome to Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you very much.
So first of all, tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Mexico, specifically Mexico City.
How long ago did you arrive in Poland?
4 months ago, on October.
In October, all right, fantastic. And what brought you to Poland?
Well, it was very destiny, I think, because it was more because of I get a job here, but that's normally the opposite way, like you first come and then you look for work. And for me, it was totally destiny. I just have this interview with godly.com, where I'm working now, and they were looking for people to come work in Poland. And I don't know, like I have the interview, I applied, and they just told me, like, just come to Poland. And now I'm here working.
So in connection to that then, sort of Poland and Mexico, both Catholic countries.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's a different kind of interpretation of Catholicism in it.
Very different. Like for me, before I came, I didn't notice really our kind of Catholicism, but is really, really different, especially because when I just arrived, of course, in godly.com, we have a lot of Catholic people working there, of course. So all the people that I met that are Catholic here in Poland, I will say that Catholicism in Poland is a little bit more mature than in Mexico.
All right. In what way do you mean that?
Because, for example, people here that they say they are Catholic, they really live a Catholic life from the Bible, for example, and they really believe in marriage. Mm-hmm. And this is like a very normal example, life from the everyday life, marriage. In Mexico, my generation especially, millennials, are like not into marriage anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think they are more Catholics because their parents probably tell them to be. But you can find these people like going to yoga class, and then because of yoga they get into Buddhism a little bit, but it's not even Buddhism, but you're still being Catholic, so it's like a mix of everything. So the result is very immature, you know, because probably you are praying and going on Sundays to the church, but not really living or mixing it with other religions. And I think here is very like a lifestyle, literally. So that's a little bit what we want to do with Godly, like tell people that it's a lifestyle. It's not just saying like, I'm Catholic and I am working for this LATAM region to make this message.
The which region, sorry?
Latin America. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you. Okay, so it's kind of, you're trying to send back this message of how it looks in Poland back to Latin America.
Yeah, I mean, we are not going to literally say like, here is how you do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very good example because especially here, what I have noticed, I mean, for these 4 months that I have been working here, is that especially young people is very into Catholic and they have this lifestyle. And in Mexico, I think in young people is not really very cool to be Catholic now. I see. So we want to show like it's really cool. It can be really cool and for young people to be Catholic. It is not necessary to be like praying with your grandmother. And it looks like that in Mexico a little bit.
I see. Okay, so just aside from that, what are your kind of first impressions? Because you're somebody who's kind of quite fresh to the country. So what was your kind of initial thoughts when you arrived in Poland?
It was very different. Like before I came, I didn't have a lot of idea of how it could be Warsaw especially. It was my first time also in Europe. I haven't been there here. Yeah. So, for example, the first thing that I thought when I was here, it was like, it looks so empty for me, the city.
Coming from Mexico City, right.
We have 22 million, right? So comparing, I feel like a little bit ghost town at first, like where is everyone? But then you realize that it's very, for me, the change to come from like literally the other side of the world alone, it's very easy because Warsaw is a very organized city for me. Public transportation works incredible and it's super safe. Like for my eyes, of course, I come from Mexico and I am always telling people like, it's not that unsafe that you say in narco series or something like that. But okay, I understand now comparing to Warsaw, that is a very safe city. So I really like that. I think Warsaw is an incredible city to live, to establish a life.
And what have you what parts of the city or the culture or anything like that have you have jumped out at you? Apart from, you mentioned things about safety, but what parts of like lifestyle have jumped out at you?
Well, of course, when I was coming, my expectations were like to have these images like we have in mind when you come to Europe, like castles and all these Gothic, and But of course, when you began to understand the history of Warsaw, and I find with a very modern city, especially when you are not going to the old town, of course. But for me, it's very modern to be European because you are expecting all these antique buildings. So I really feel like that is very special thing of Warsaw, the mix, that now you can go to the old town and everything is rebuilt, but very authentic style, and very recent, the reconstruction. So for me, it's like very impactant, like shocking, because it's very few time when Warsaw people made all this. So for me, it's crazy, all this rebuilding. And then you have the modern part, for example, going more from Centralna and Centrum, and you have all these skyscrapers and a lot of buildings going on construction. So for me, it's like a very, very nice mix. And I think you have the best of both. And especially the history for me is very interesting. I every time that I speak a lot of this with Polish people, they told me it's very, very interesting and very recent.
Today we are in Dąbrowski, it's a Polish restaurant. So maybe it's kind of apt that we sort of say something about food and maybe your impressions, especially contrasting that with Mexican food. Because I'm thinking, there are elements of similarities, but on the other hand, the flavours are quite different.
Very different. Like Mexican food is really spicy and tasty, but I was a little bit afraid of coming here and missing a lot of tacos. But no, really, I like Polish food a lot. And for example, for me, the best is the soups. You have really nice soups. I feel very natural flavors on it. And for example, jurek, I love it. I really love jurek. And pierogi is also very good because these are the both things that you first try, right? When you are trying very traditional Polish. But yeah, soups are very, very good. Actually, now I am just learning a little bit of basic Polish words, and my favorite phrase, I mean, I don't know if I would do it good, but it's like poproszę sopę pomidorowa, because I also love sopa pomidorowa. So, yeah, I think it's very natural and homemade if you really go to the traditional, and that is, I think, the only common thing that I will find between Mexican and Polish, that both are very traditional and with a lot of natural ingredients, not really fake ingredients. So I really like it.
Now, is there any other part of, like, when you're sort of looking around that you feel something has kind of impacted you in some way? Maybe it's like, I don't know, the environment or the weather or something. Have you ventured outside of Warsaw at all?
Talking about outside city, yeah, to Krakow. I went to Krakow. Oh my God, that is also a very nice place, especially because there you have all these, what I was expecting before I came, like the castle.
A bit more of the fairy tale, yeah?
And I have been also in other cities, not in Poland, but to be honest, that makes me value more to be living in Warsaw, because maybe for tourists or just traveling, there are in Europe a lot of places really nice to go, right? Like a lot of cities. But then when I was going, for example, Germany or like Prague, Brussels, I have been there now, I always want to come back to Warsaw because I really feel like here you can live this everyday lifestyle. I am very impressed how I quickly get used to live here. For me, it's very, like I was thinking that it would take very more to get used to it and feel like really in a hometown. And no, I think it's very, very easy. And comparing, for example, I think it would be very difficult from someone to Warsaw to going to live to Mexico City.
Why do you say that?
Because Mexico City is like a little bit of struggle when you are used to Warsaw, probably. I feel like you will have all this struggle with public transportation there. Like organization in Mexico City is a little bit messy. I mean, it's very colorful and we have all this warmth of Latin. But to get used to live like every day and going to work and take the bus is kind of a struggle even for the people we born there. And for me, taking the bus every day to go work and going out to the neighborhood, like living a real life, not just touristic, it has been very easy.
Alejandra, thank you very much for joining us here at Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we dive deep into the history of the Polish nobility. The Polish nobility makes a very interesting case as they were more numerous and enjoy more political power than their European counterparts. They even managed to start a political system based on elective monarchy. Today we will talk to our special guest, Jon Dąbrowski, a philosopher and a member of the Polish nobility. During the end of the 18th century, Poland disappeared from the map as a sovereign state, and otherwise known as the partition era. I was wondering what happened to the Polish nobles, what did the Szlachta do, what are their lives like during the time of partition?
Of course, it was different in three different empires. I shall start with Russian. The number of Polish Szlachta and Russian authority, not Catherine II, but I think Tsar Nikolai. At the time of Tsar Nikolai, they realized It was after Congress, after Vienna Congress, you know, the peaceful time for Europe for almost a century, and but the authorities in St. Petersburg, they realized that half of the nobility of the whole Russian Empire consists of the Polish nobility, you know, and that's why the Tsar imposed a law that they wanted and they did not recognize Polish noblemen which were not possessionati. Not that you could be born as a nobleman. Right. You had titles, all was legal, you know. You had papers for that, but you were just, your position was like a normal farmer, you know. So you were erased from a list, from an official list, you know. And at that time, the heraldry as an institution started to function on the territory of Poland, you know, in two empires, because Prussia was kingdom, and in Austria under Habsburgs, and in Russia there were institutions which did not existed in historical Poland, because in the time of king, in the medieval ages of Piasten, and in the times of elected kings, we didn't have heraldry, because for a nobleman it was clear who was or wasn't a nobleman. A nobleman there was even a saying that a nobleman gives birth to a nobleman, which means that through paternal line, that title was inherited, you know. A man was giving title to his son and his daughter, yes. And that was Polish specific. You could be adopted, of course, because as I mentioned before, the law and legal institutions were very important in the Commonwealth. Yes. So you could be adopted, of course, and then you were receiving title. Or there was indigenat, which was incorporating, like during mentioned before, union with Lithuania, Grand Duchess of Lithuania, that several hundred of Lithuanian noble families were incorporated into the Polish noble family.
The fall of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and the partition of the country by three of its neighbors had a profound effect on the Polish nobility. It had to do some soul-searching to figure out why it hadn't been able to stop the disaster. Throughout the 19th century, it would be preoccupied with trying to win back a sovereign Polish state. During the 19th century, when Poland lost its sovereignty, there were two great uprisings against Russia. And I was wondering, what roles did the nobility play during the uprisings?
Nobility took part in both of them, but first I have to clarify one thing. After the Vienna Congress, which took place in 1815, after Napoleon era in Europe, the Kingdom of Poland was reconstituted, with the difference that the King of Poland was Tsar of Russia, and that king was Alexander I. And when the raise up in 1830 began, or soon after, the Sejm, which is Polish Parliament, was convocated, and the deputies from all over the country came. They deprived title, the king's title of Russian Tsar, you know. So that's why till nowadays we do not recognize, we Poles, well-born and not well-born, we do not recognize that we had kings longer than the last one, Stanislaus Augustus Poniatowski. This is just to clarify that. The resurrection of the raise up in 1831 had chances because there was a raise up and wars in Belgium at that time, in today's Belgium, in Netherlands. I've forgotten the name, but on the territory of today's Belgium, Kingdom of Belgium, there were fights, and that raise up helped Belgians to create as a consequence their state. Then in 19th century, you know. And so you see how linked this political events were. Yeah. And I want to add one thing, that resurrection had chances because of that problem in Western Europe, which is in today's Belgium, and because Russia had war in the Crimea and in that southern region, you know, where when then England was melted. I don't remember the exact date and names, I'm sorry, but the Russian army was concentrated and engaged on the battlefield in the today's territory of today's Ukraine, you know, on the Black Sea, somewhere there, you know, and Caucasus as well. I don't now remember details of that wars, but they were focused there, you know. So they didn't have many armies prepared, and Grand Duke Constanty, who was loved or respected by many Poles, I have to admit, the brother of the Tsar, who wanted to be the king of Poland in place of his brother, the Tsar. He created a very, very strong Polish army, you know, because he was fixed with the idea. His occupancy, everyday occupancy, was taking care and maneuvers and défilé of the regiments. You know, they were very well equipped. So on the territory of the relatively or very small territory of Kingdom of Poland, there was a very strong Polish army, of course under Tsar formally and nominally, but when the younger officers, you know, they made revolt, which started the whole raise up. There was a strong force, well equipped on the territory of that middle of Kingdom of Poland, you know, historical Kingdom of Poland. The Tsar of Russia in 1862, I think, or 63, I don't remember precisely, I'm sorry, but he decided to convoke big number of young Polish men for the army because of the politics of Russian Empire at that time and military wars. They were continuing, and Mark Graf, which is more than a Count Wielopolski, of the big historical aristocratic Polish family, who was governor of Poland, he executed that. And the revolt was against that decision. The decision was prepared by the court in St. Petersburg because Tsar, before the raise-up started, Tsar gave freedom, or he freed Polish peasants, you know, and then Polish peasants in the 19th century especially, but even before, but especially in 19th century, they've lost their position they had before, you know, in the Commonwealth. They became practically slaves, like slaves in America, you know, like in slaves in America. So that was a reaction for that, and that's why during this raise up of 63-64, peasants didn't supported Polish noblemen and aristocrats who were fighting against Russian army, but sometimes and even quite often they were supporting Russian Cossacks, etc. You know, because they obtained, however, something from Tsar.
As we learned today, the Polish aristocracy played an important role in Polish history, and also they formed the backbone of Polish cultural life. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily Travel. Once again, we are on the Royal Route, where we trip the light fantastic, checking out the most important sites along perhaps the most fabulous boulevard in the entire country of Poland. Yes, we'll be coming to you from the Humidor room in the beautiful Raffles Europejski Hotel, newly refurbished and opened in 2017. This is one of the premier hotels not only in Poland, but in Europe itself. After leaving the Raffles Europejski, we'll head to the Royal Route, where we'll continue our walk, which started in the cathedral in the Old Town and continues today up to Nowy Świat. That is not just today, but the next several days we'll be on the Royal Route, and we'll be showing you all the ins and outs and what's important to know. It's an exciting trip. Poland Daily Travel, the best travel reporting about Warsaw that you've ever seen. Stay tuned.
Okay, we're here at the Europejski Hotel, now a Raffles Hotel, and we've been looking around and it's been great. We've enjoyed being in this great room, the Humidor room, and having fun talking. We're going outside now to walk along the Royal Route. Stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We do it for you and for you. Right, Arthur?
Thank you very much.
Okay, stick with us. So what's this church here?
It's a
I went to a wedding there, but I forgot the name of it. What is it?
It's a visitation nunnery.
Uh-huh.
It's a late Baroque style church.
Late Baroque, okay.
Yes, and when we can see these columns like waving, not in one straight line, not one right next to each other, but in like 3D situation. This is how early shapes of Rococo are starting out. More round shaped, there is more movement over there. And later on, richer interiors, what we'll see in St. Anna's Church later on. This is the only church where Frédéric Chopin performed organs at the age of 16 and 17 years old. So we are having quite a history happening along the Royal Route, almost in every single building.
Yeah, it's amazing how many great buildings are. Some of them, of course, were destroyed and then replaced by not such nice buildings. Because as we were saying, as we said before, there were a huge amount of palaces. Many of those are no longer with us. But it's also a route of Chopin, isn't it? Because he played organ here, but why did he play organ here? Because he lived nearby, didn't he?
He lived nearby. Frédéric Chopin, in general, didn't like big audiences, and also he wasn't performing in the churches, but that was the only place where he did so. And also, that church is painted by Bernardo Bellotto, widely known as Canaletto, famous.
He's not the Canaletto. He's a nephew or something, right? Or?
So this is Bernardo Bellotto, who was recommended to be hired by Madame Goffrin to King Stanisławus Augustus Poniatowski, who provided 27 paintings of the Old Town and the neighborhood. All of them survived. All of them we can see in nowadays Royal Castle. And that's why reconstruction of Warsaw was enabled thanks to two things. First,
So you mean after World War II?
After World War II, to pass architecture, you had to draw minimum one building from the Old Town. We kept the archives, so we had the precise plans. And then to get the spirit of this place, we used Canaletto paintings.
Okay, so the fact that you had these, and I've seen some of these paintings, they're great, and we might see some along this walk. There might be one.
Yes, they are right in here.
Or two. There are some around here, yeah. And we might have a Chopin surprise as well, right?
Yes, we have a Chopin surprise right in here.
Yeah, okay. It's nearby, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Let's do it.
So is this a university building? Are these interesting sculptures? It's like a torso of a man appearing to hold up this balcony. What's that all about?
We call him giants. A very popular thing in 19th century Europe. So to construct the giants instead of columns, so to hold balconies or buildings. Warsaw, as far as it was the famous eclectic combination of European styles, also adopted such elements in Tyszkiewicz Palace that we can see in here. At the moment, it's a museum of the University of Warsaw.
This is the Tyszkiewicz Palace.
Correct.
And that's one of the great families of Poland's history, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What are the main families? Tyszkiewicz is one. Potocki, Libomirski, Koniec Polski, Radziwiłł, which is famous in America, of course. Zamoyski from Zamość down in the southeast.
Exactly, they established a beautiful city over there, which is why it's called Zamość.
Right.
Also, Jan Zamoyski was the first prominent Polish noble aristocrat who hired Jews as his financiers, and this is how he started a very important process in Polish history.
Yeah. So I mean, So he went into banking, or?
Well, when it comes to banking services, he hired Jewish people in this field in the same moment when in France there was Jewish Inquisition, which was why in this very moment, biggest Jewish emigration in Europe takes place to Poland, to the safe place.
Yeah, Poland was safe and other regions of Europe were not safe for Jewish people. And Jan Zamoyski, the elder, was instrumental in welcoming them because he employed them. Okay. These are great. Yeah, very
and
interesting.
And in here we are having also a symbol of Potocki family, 2.5 cross.
Here?
Yes, we can see such 2.5 cross symbol in the central section, which represents the symbol of Potocki family. That's why we call the palace Potocki Tyszkiewicz Palace.
It's Potocki Tyszkiewicz
Correct.
Palace. And what will we see if we go in this museum?
We will see the Museum of Warsaw University, which was established 200 years ago. So in the moment when Poland was not on the map, so who exactly established the museum? Who exactly established the university? Tsar Alexander I, Tsar of Russia.
Wow.
He liked Poland. He liked Poland so much that also he wanted Frédéric Chopin to perform only for him, and that's why Frédéric Chopin was supposed to emigrate to St. Petersburg and compose for the Tsar, which turned out to be a reason why Frédéric Chopin emigrated and never came back.
Interesting. Well, we're going to talk some more about Chopin. Stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We're walking on the royal route, and we're headed south. We're headed south toward the New World, it's called, Nowy Świat. Stay with us.